Good morning, America. To all the listeners, Namaskar, Adab, Salam Alaikum, Sat Shri Akal, Welcome, जी आयां ਨੂੰ। ਜਿਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਕਿ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਜਾਣਦੇ ਹੋ ਕਿ ਅੱਜ ਮਈ ਦਾ ਮਹੀਨਾ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਹੋ ਚੁੱਕਿਆ 2 ਦਿਨ ਪਹਿਲੇ ਔਰ ਅੱਜ ਮਈ 3 2014 ਦਾ ਦਿਨ ਹੈ। परमात्मा अल्लाह ताला गॉड वाहिगुरु जीसस क्राइस्ट आप सब ਦੇ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਇਹ ਦਿਨ ਬਹੁਤ ਵਧੀਆ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਆਉਣ। ਚਾਹੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਭਗਵਾਨ ਰਾਮ ਨੂੰ ਮੰਨਦੇ ਹੋ, ਕ੍ਰਿਸ਼ਨ ਨੂੰ ਮੰਨਦੇ ਹੋ, ਅੱਲਾਹ ਨੂੰ ਮੰਨਦੇ ਹੋ, ਚਾਹੇ ਜੀਸਸ ਨੂੰ ਮੰਨਦੇ ਹੋ। ਰੱਬ ਇੱਕ ਹੈ, ਉਸ ਦੇ ਨਾਮ ਵੱਖਰੇ ਵੱਖਰੇ ਨੇ। ਆਪ ਸਭ ਦੇ ਅੱਗੇ ਬੇਨਤੀ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਚੰਗੇ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਿਆ ਕਰੋ। ਚੰਗੇ ਕੰਮ ਕੀਤਿਆਂ ਹੀ ਸਮਾਜ ਦਾ ਭਲਾ ਹੋ ਸਕਦਾ, ਸਾਡੇ ਦੇਸ਼ ਦਾ ਭਲਾ ਹੋ ਸਕਦਾ, ਸਾਡੇ ਮੁਲਕ ਦਾ, ਸਾਡੇ ਪਿਛੋਕੜ ਦਾ ਭਲਾ ਹੋ ਸਕਦਾ। ਔਰ ਅੱਜ ਦਾ ਦਿਨ ਆਪ ਸਭ ਜੀ ਦੀ ਸ਼ਾਨ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਪੇਸ਼ ਹੈ ਰਮਾਕਾਂਤ ਡਾਵਰ ਦੇ ਟਾਕ ਸ਼ੋਅ ਦੇ ਰਾਹੀਂ। ਇਹ ਸ਼ਨੀਵਾਰ ਦਾ ਦਿਨ ਮਈ 3 2014 ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਹੀ ਵਧੀਆ ਹੋਵੇ। ਪਰਮਾਤਮਾ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਇੱਛਾਵਾਂ ਪੂਰੀਆਂ ਕਰੇ। ਖੇਡਦੇ ਖਾਂਦੇ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਰਹੋ। ਅੱਜ ਸਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਜੁੜ ਬੈਠੇ ਨੇ ਚਾਉਚਲਾ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਡਿਪਾਰਟਮੈਂਟ ਦੇ ਚੀਫ ਮਿਸਟਰ ਜੇ ਵਾਰਨੇ, ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕਿ ਮਡੇਰਾ ਕਾਉਂਟੀ ਤੋਂ ਸ਼ੈਰਿਫ ਦੀ ਪੋਜੀਸ਼ਨ ਦੇ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਇਲੈਕਸ਼ਨ ਲੜ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ। ਅਸੀਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਜੀ ਆਇਆਂ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਹਾਂ। Good morning, Mr. J.
Good morning,
Varney.
Rama. Good morning, Rama.
Good morning. How are you doing today?
We're doing great.
Are you able to listen in your earpiece clearly?
Yes.
Good. So we have Jay Varney, who is currently running police department of Chowchilla, a very nice gentleman, having family, 2 children, was born in 1960 and is with the law enforcement since many years. And as I stated that we have our guest today, Jay Varney, and his name starts J with a gun lifted upside. Why is that, Jay?
Well, Rama, the number one question I get asked by the voters of Madera County is what my stance is on the Second Amendment. And we wanted to put a visual on the sign that showed that we are strong supporters of all the amendments of the Constitution, and in particular the one that folks ask about, the Second Amendment.
Good. ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਪੁੱਛਿਆ ਵੀ ਜਿਸ ਟਾਈਮ ਲੋਕ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਪੁੱਛਦੇ ਨੇ, ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਪਹਿਲੇ ਮੇਰਾ ਸਵਾਲ ਸੀਗਾ ਵੀ ਜੇ ਦੇ ਪਹਿਲੇ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਅੱਖਰ ਹੈ ਜੇ, ਉਹ ਗਨ ਉਤਲੇ ਪਾਸੇ ਨੂੰ ਕਿਉਂ ਉਠੀ ਹੋਈ ਹੈ। ਤੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਮੈਂ ਸੰਵਿਧਾਨ ਦੇ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਹੁੰਗਾਰਾ ਦੇਣਾ ਤੇ ਸੰਵਿਧਾਨ ਦੀਆਂ ਧਾਰਾਵਾਂ ਦੇ ਮੁਤਾਬਕ ਮੈਂ ਚੱਲਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦਾ ਤੇ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਦੀ ਸੁਰੱਖਿਆ ਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ। Since how long you are with the law enforcement?
Well, Rama, I started my career in 1983 with the Dallas, Texas Police Department, and I've been employed in law enforcement continuously ever since. So I'm in my 31st year of law enforcement.
ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਕਿ 1983 ਤੋਂ ਡੈਲਸ ਟੈਕਸਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਲਾ ਐਨਫੋਰਸਮੈਂਟ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਜੁੜੇ ਹੋਏ ਨੇ ਤੇ 31 ਸਾਲ ਹੋ ਗਏ ਨੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਲਾ ਐਨਫੋਰਸਮੈਂਟ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਦੇ। What made you to move California? Move to California?
Well, in about 1999, I started working with a group called Point Man Leadership Institute, and they are based out of Hume Lake Christian Camp just straight east from Fresno here. And when I saw the position opening in Chowchilla, I thought that would be an excellent place to work and still be able to be involved in that volunteer work group. And I applied for the position, and I've been in it for the past 10 years and a month.
ਜਿਹੜਾ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਕਿ 1999 ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਿਸ ਟਾਈਮ ਇਹ ਇੱਕ ਲੀਡਰਸ਼ਿਪ ਗਰੁੱਪ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇੱਥੇ ਆਏ ਸੀਗੇ, ਉਹਨੂੰ ਜੁਆਇਨ ਕੀਤਾ ਤੇ ਉਸ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਇੱਥੇ ਇੱਕ ਓਪਨਿੰਗ ਹੈਗੀ ਸੀਗੀ ਚੌਚਿਲਾ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਤੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਉੱਥੇ ਅਪਲਾਈ ਕੀਤਾ ਤੇ ਲਗਭਗ ਹੁਣ 10 ਸਾਲ ਤੋਂ ਉੱਤੇ ਹੋ ਗਏ ਨੇ ਉਸ ਪੋਜੀਸ਼ਨ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਇਹ ਸ਼ਾਮਲ ਨੇ। I know everyone has asked you question whenever you are in a talk show or in front of the media or in front of a forum or a group. Why are you running for this office?
Well, I'm running for the office of sheriff because I believe that my skills and my education and my current experience in Madera County make me the best solution for the future of the sheriff's office. As you know, Sheriff John Anderson is retiring after 4 terms, and I feel that I am the most qualified and the best answer for the voters in terms of carrying the good traditions of the sheriff's office into the future and to making improvements in that office.
ਸਵਾਲ ਪੁੱਛਿਆ ਗਿਆ ਸੀ ਕਿ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਿਉਂ ਚੁਣਾਵ ਲੜ ਰਹੇ ਹੋ। ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਮੈਂ ਇਹ ਸੋਚਦਾ ਕਿ ਮੈਂ ਜਿੰਨੇ ਵੀ ਕੈਂਡੀਡੇਟ ਨੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਵਿੱਚੋਂ ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਕੁਆਲੀਫਾਈਡ ਹੈਗਾ ਅਤੇ ਸ਼ੈਰਿਫ ਜੌਨ ਐਂਡਰਸਨ ਰਿਟਾਇਰ ਹੋ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ 4 ਟਰਮਸ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ, ਅਤੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਤਜਰਬਾ ਹੈ ਉਸ ਨੂੰ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਸੋਚ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ ਕਿ ਮੈਂ ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਕੁਆਲੀਫਾਈਡ ਹੈਗਾ। Our listeners are from Bakersfield to Modesto, and on west of 99 it goes all the way down to Mendota and little further. East side of 99 it goes to Badger Hog, and then after it is Federal Reserve land. Cannot say anything about that. While we have towers there to run our talk shows and TV relay stations, towers are there. What is your educational background?
Well, my educational background is, starting with most recent to oldest, is I just earned my master's degree from Fresno State. I'll be getting my diploma in 2 weeks when graduation occurs. I finished that in December. I have a bachelor's degree from Michigan State University. I have an executive POST certificate. POST is the group at the state level that certifies police officer training and leadership courses. It stands for Police Officer Standards and Training. And I originally attended a police academy in Dallas when I was hired by the Dallas Police Department.
ਸਵਾਲ ਪੁੱਛਿਆ ਗਿਆ ਸੀਗਾ ਕਿ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਪੜ੍ਹਾਈ ਕਿੱਥੇ ਤੱਕ ਦੀ ਹੈ। ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਕਿ ਮੈਂ ਫਰੈਜ਼ਨੋ ਸਟੇਟ ਤੋਂ ਹਾਲੇ ਹੁਣੇ ਹੀ ਮਾਸਟਰਸ ਕਰ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੈਗਾ, ਅਤੇ ਮਿਸ਼ੀਗਨ ਸਟੇਟ ਯੂਨੀਵਰਸਿਟੀ ਤੋਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ BA ਕੀਤੀ ਹੋਈ ਹੈ ਜਾਂ BSc ਕੀਤੀ ਹੈ, ਅਤੇ ਪੋਸਟ ਸਰਟੀਫਿਕੇਟ ਲਿਆ ਹੈ ਜਿਸ ਨੂੰ ਅਸੀਂ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਆਫੀਸਰਸ ਸਟੈਂਡਰਡ ਟ੍ਰੇਨਿੰਗ ਦਾ ਸਰਟੀਫਿਕੇਟ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ, ਜਿਹੜਾ ਕਿ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਅਫਸਰਾਂ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਜ਼ਰੂਰੀ ਹੁੰਦਾ, ਅਤੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਬੈਕਗਰਾਊਂਡ ਹੈਗੀ ਹੈ। Chief, to run a police department is a very, very hectic work.
Yes, sir, it is.
We do not want to get into any kind of conversation where it is a breach of confidentiality, but tell us something special done by you or your administration to protect people, their properties, their lives in the city of Chowchilla, that you can bring that experience, those skills for this Madera County that is stretched all the way down close to Yosemite, close to Merced County, Fresno County. What kinds of skills, experience you will bring to the sheriff's office in Madera County?
Well, I think two of the biggest skills that I'll bring to that office is I'm a team builder and I'm a problem solver. And one of those points in my career where that was proven to be extremely useful was from 2009 to 2011. Not only was I police chief, but I was the acting city administrator for the city of Chowchilla. We were in a particularly difficult budget time, and we had to really scramble and think of some ideas that were unique and took advantage of all the resources we had. So one of the things we did was we built public and private partnerships in terms of services outside of public safety, and we were able to allow our recreational activities for our children to continue rather than having to close up fields and cut programs back. We partnered with those private folks to allow them to continue the programs, and that model still goes on today even after the economy has come back. In terms of law enforcement, we've always worked well with all of the public safety partners around us, including fire, EMS, and law enforcement. So, for example, right now, even though I am below the staffing that I had in 2009, I have assigned someone to the Special Investigations Unit, which is the group in Madera County that does the gang and violent crime investigations, so that I can bring that resource up to Chowchilla, as well as contributing to cutting crime down throughout the county.
Thank you, Chief. ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਹੈਗਾ ਕਿ ਮੈਂ ਟੀਮ ਬਿਲਡਰ ਸਵਾਲ ਇਹ ਪੁੱਛਿਆ ਗਿਆ ਸੀ ਕਿ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਕੋਲ ਕੀ ਤਜਰਬਾ ਹੈਗਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਮਡੇਰਾ ਕਾਊਂਟੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਆਓਗੇ ਸ਼ੈਰਿਫਸ ਡਿਪਾਰਟਮੈਂਟ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ। ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਕਿ ਮੈਂ ਟੀਮ ਬਿਲਡਰ ਹੈਗਾ ਔਰ ਪ੍ਰੋਬਲਮ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਸੋਲਵ ਕਰ, ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਦਿੱਕਤਾਂ ਨੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਨਿਪਟਾਉਂਦਾ। These are two good skills.
Yes, they've served me well Every assignment I've had over my 30-plus year career, they've been extremely useful.
ਤੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਕਿ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਮੈਂ ਪਿਛਲੇ 30 ਸਾਲਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਵੀ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਕੰਮ ਦਿੱਤੇ ਗਏ ਸੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇਹ ਬਹੁਤ ਹੀ ਵਧੀਆ ਵਰਤੋਂਯੋਗ ਹੈਗੇ ਸੀਗੇ। 2009 ਤੋਂ ਲੈ ਕੇ 2011 ਤੱਕ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਸਿਟੀ ਦੇ ਐਕਟਿੰਗ ਐਡਮਿਨਿਸਟ੍ਰੇਟਰ ਰਹਿ ਚੁੱਕੇ ਨੇ। ਪਬਲਿਕ ਤੇ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਪ੍ਰਾਈਵੇਟ ਸੈਕਟਰ ਨੂੰ ਦੋਨੋਂ ਨੂੰ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਮਿਲਾ ਕੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਵਧੀਆ ਕੰਮ ਕੀਤਾ। ਜਿਸ ਟਾਈਮ ਇਕਾਨਮੀ ਡਾਊਨ ਸੀਗੀ, ਹਾਲਾਂਕਿ ਇਕਾਨਮੀ ਵਾਪਸ ਆ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ, ਪਰ ਫਿਰ ਵੀ ਬਹੁਤ ਔਖਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਕਿਸੇ ਵੀ ਮਹਿਕਮੇ ਨੂੰ ਰਨ ਕਰਨਾ। ਤੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਇਹ ਵੀ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਕਿ ਸਪੈਸ਼ਲ ਇਨਵੈਸਟੀਗੇਸ਼ਨ ਯੂਨਿਟ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਹੈਗਾ ਇਹ ਜੁੜੇ ਹੋਏ ਨੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਅਪਰਾਧਾਂ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਲੜਦੇ ਨੇ। So when you became an administrator of for the city of Chowchilla, you became your own boss?
In essence, yes, but it did give me a level of experience that I don't believe any of the other candidates in our race have, and that is I have the experience of working for almost 2 years where I reported directly to the elected board, or in my case, my city council, and that's a whole different place to work from. You do have to implement the policies that the council brings down, but you are responsible for making sure that the city can do so and do so in a financially intelligent manner and still provide the services that citizens request.
ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਗਿਆ ਕਿ ਜਿਸ ਟਾਈਮ ਇਹ ਕੰਮ ਮੈਂ ਕਰਦਾ ਸੀ, ਜਿਹੜੇ ਨਾਗਰਿਕ ਲੋਕ ਜਾਂ ਸਮਾਜ ਦੇ ਲੋਕ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਸੇਵਾਵਾਂ ਦੀ ਲੋੜ ਸੀਗੀ ਜਾਂ ਸ਼ਹਿਰ ਨੂੰ ਜੋ ਕੁਝ ਵੀ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਸੀਗਾ ਉਸ ਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਕੰਟਰੋਲ ਕਰਨਾ ਬਹੁਤ ਔਖਾ ਕੰਮ ਹੈਗਾ। How you disciplined yourself when you were your own boss?
Well, I worked very closely with the mayor, and I kind of left that up to himself and the council.
Chief, I didn't ask with whom you worked. I asked, how did you discipline yourself when you were your own boss? It is just joking.
Yeah, well, fortunately, I didn't get in trouble, so I didn't have to write myself up then.
मैं मजाक कर रहा सी। I was just joking with Chief that when you just time ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਖੁਦ ਦੇ ਬੌਸ ਸੀ, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਆਪ ਨੂੰ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ ਸੁਧਾਰਦੇ ਸੀ ਤੇ ਕਹਿਣ ਲੱਗੇ ਕਿ ਮੈਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਆਪ ਕੋਈ ਗਲਤੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਕੀਤੀ। But you have another, and I will use the different, I will rephrase it. You do have another boss sitting behind you. Is that true?
Yes, I have my wife and campaign manager, Amy, is sitting behind me.
So when she became your campaign manager, she became your boss.
Yes, sir.
And before that?
Before that, she was the boss of the home. Let's put it that way.
So it is very important when we are running for the office, we must have the knowledge how we run our family, how we raise our children, and you have that privilege.
Yes, sir, I do.
Tell me about your family, sir.
Sure. Amy and I have been married for 29 years this coming June, and my son is 22. He's currently working up full-time at the Merced Rescue Mission, and my daughter is 17, and she's a junior in high school. ਚੀਫ ਵਾਰਨੇ ਨੇ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਕਿ ਇਹ 29 ਸਾਲ ਹੋ ਗਏ ਨੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਆਪਣੀ ਸ਼ਾਦੀ ਬਣਾਏ ਹੋਏ। ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਬੇਟਾ ਹੈਗਾ 22 ਸਾਲ ਦਾ, ਬੇਟੀ ਹੈ 17 ਸਾਲ ਦੀ। ਬੇਟਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਹੈਗਾ ਉਹ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਦਾ ਹੈਗਾ ਮਰਸਡ ਰੈਸਕਿਊ ਮਿਸ਼ਨ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ, ਮਰਸਡ ਵਿੱਚ। ਤੇ ਯੂ ਹੈਵ ਵੈਰੀ ਨਾਈਸ ਫੈਮਿਲੀ ਸਰ। Yes, I do. Thank you.
ਐਂਡ ਯੂ ਆਰ ਬਲੈਸਡ।
I am.
ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਚੰਗਾ ਪਰਿਵਾਰ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਰੱਬ ਦੀ ਕਿਰਪਾ ਹੈਗੀ ਆ। Madera County has a lot of different kind of crime as compared to the Fresno County. And mainly there is drug because of the stretch area of Madera County. How will you control this drug problem in Madera County, which is killing our children, our future, not only individual's future, our country's future, because drug is taking over?
Well, you have basically two different kinds of drug problems in Madera County. You have methamphetamine abuse, and most of the methamphetamine in Madera County is now brought in, whether it's from outside of the county or whether it's brought up from south of the border. When I first took over as chief, it was actually produced in Madera County, and we would probably have anywhere from 8 to 10 drug lab dumps in the Chowchilla area in a year. I'm happy to say that we haven't had a drug lab dump in over 5 years in our area. And the other problem is marijuana use and marijuana growth. I would push to ban marijuana production throughout Madera County. I think between ourselves and Fresno County, we could start a core area where drug production would at least be, it will never be totally eradicated, but at least you could curb it and set a tone for the fact that both of these counties highly value family and value, I guess, what I'd call the American dream, the ability to apply yourself to be what you want to be without interference of having your neighbor being a large-scale marijuana producer or something of that nature. So what I would do is I would continue to utilize units like the Special Investigative Unit and also make the lieutenants who are over the 2 patrol divisions more responsible for their area of patrol, but also equip them so that they have the personnel and the equipment that they need to combat both the marijuana grows and methamphetamine abuse.
ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਹੈਗਾ ਕਿ ਡਰੱਗ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਮੈਥਾਮਫੈਟਾਮਿਨ ਤੇ ਭੰਗ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਹੈ ਬਾਹਰੋਂ ਵੀ ਆਉਂਦੀ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਬਣਾਈ ਵੀ ਜਾਂਦੀ ਸੀ ਮਡੇਰਾ ਕਾਉਂਟੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ, ਤੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਲਿeutenants ਨੂੰ ਹਿਦਾਇਤਾਂ ਦੇਣਗੇ, ਸਪੈਸ਼ਲ ਟਾਸਕ ਫੋਰਸ ਬਣਾਉਣਗੇ ਇਸ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਨਜਿੱਠਣ ਵਾਸਤੇ। ਚੀਫ, each and single elected official not only has the duty according to the law, but also a duty, a power, a respect, an obligation rendered in that office or in that official. As you have mentioned about drugs, what will you do to protect the citizens who are on drugs or drug addicted? Will you try to enhance a program or start a program where these addicted people can go and get rehabilitation? And we both understand that under alternative sentencing people, they go for counseling, AAA meetings or NAA meetings. In Fresno, police department and some community groups have incorporated some of the programs. What is your plan, or have you given a thought for that type of service for the citizens of or residents of Madera County?
Well, what I believe is very important to the Office of Sheriff is, although your primary job is law enforcement, you're also one of the most visible elected people in the county, and all of the services that would deal with the issue that you're discussing there, behavioral health services, social services, all those folks are going to need you to help them champion their programs. So currently what we do in Madera County, and I would build on both of these programs. Number one, our Community Corrections Partnership, the one that was built out of the AB 109 Public Safety Realignment, is very active, and all of the department heads are very good at advocating for the part that they need to deal with. So, for example, the behavioral health folks and the social service folks work hand in hand with law enforcement to make sure they're getting the money from the CCP that they need to improve their programs that are related to those folks that come out of the county jail in some sort of post-release fashion, whether it's post-release community supervision or your standard probation. The other thing that we have in Madera County, and it's geared more towards gangs, but we know that gang lifestyle includes drug abuse, and drug abuse leads right back to your question. And we have an informal gang intervention task force. And there's probably about anywhere between 2 and 3 dozen groups represented there. It includes the government department heads that I mentioned earlier. It includes my police department. It includes the Madera Police Department. But it also includes a number of nonprofit groups who offer the programs that you were just discussing. And we work together to promote each other's programs so that the folks who are ready to actually take a step because they've hit rock bottom and to get into a program to renew their life, so that we're all working and supporting each other. For example, last Saturday evening there was a benefit concert. It was a comedy concert for Youth for Christ at one of the churches, and we actually talked about that, discussed that, and a number of members of the Gang Intervention Task Force went to that to support that program. Why? because that particular group has worked for, I believe, over 20 years with the probation department to get those same folks that we were just discussing off of drugs.
First of all, I salute to that group that is working over 20 years. ਮੈਂ ਨਾ ਸਵਾਲ ਪੁੱਛਿਆ ਸੀ ਵੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕੀ ਵੱਖਰਾ ਕਰੋਗੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਡਰੱਗ ਦੀ ਵਰਤੋਂ ਕਰਦੇ ਨੇ ਜਾਂ ਹੋਰ ਗਲਤ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਦੇ ਨੇ ਨਸ਼ੇ ਪੱਤਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ। ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਕਿ ਗੈਂਗ ਇਨਵੈਂਸ਼ਨ ਟਾਸਕ ਫੋਰਸ ਹੈਗੀ ਹੈ ਅਤੇ ਉਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਕਈ ਨਾਨ ਪ੍ਰੋਫਿਟ ਗਰੁੱਪ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਜੁੜੇ ਹੋਏ ਨੇ ਅਤੇ ਇਹ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਰਲ ਕੇ ਕੰਮ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ ਔਰ ਕਰਦੇ ਰਹਿਣਗੇ। ਅਤੇ ਜਿਸ ਟਾਈਮ ਕੋਈ ਵੀ ਬੰਦਾ ਡਰੱਗ ਵਾਲਾ ਜੇਲ੍ਹ 'ਚ ਆਉਂਦਾ ਉਸ ਨੂੰ ਜਿਸ ਟਾਈਮ ਛੱਡਿਆ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਪ੍ਰੋਬੇਸ਼ਨ ਡਿਪਾਰਟਮੈਂਟ ਜਾਂ ਹੋਰ ਵੀ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਮਹਿਕਮੇ ਨੇ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਜੁੜੇ ਹੋਏ ਨੇ ਅਤੇ ਸਮਾਜ ਸੇਵੀ ਸੰਸਥਾਵਾਂ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਜੁੜੀਆਂ ਹੋਈਆਂ ਨੇ ਉਹ CCP ਦੇ ਤਹਿਤ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਰਲ ਕੇ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਨਗੇ ਅਤੇ ਇਹ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਰਲ ਕੇ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਨਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਣਗੇ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਸਮਾਜ ਦੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਜ਼ਿੰਮੇਦਾਰੀ ਹੈ ਇੱਕ ਚयनित ਅਫਸਰ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਚੁਣਿਆ ਅਧਿਕਾਰੀ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਉਹਦੇ ਮੋਢਿਆਂ 'ਤੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ। You have the training, you have the experience of law enforcement and working in Chowchilla area, which is a part of Madera County. What is the most addressable problem in Madera County that you will address and you will, when you will take over the office, that will be your main agenda?
Well, I think there's two problems that are very addressable. They are dependent on having the deputies available to do this, but I think that addressing the gang problem is a doable and addressable problem to attack. We have the SIU that I mentioned earlier. We also have a narcotics task force in Madera County, which the Sheriff's Office does participate in. I think between these two resources and your regular patrol deputies that gang activity is, I don't want to say easy to quantify, but you can pull things out of crimes that identified as being gang related, and those individuals are more easily identified than just say a random criminal. And I think it's a big quality of life issue in terms of curbing the growth of gangs throughout Madera County. It's not just a city problem. It doesn't just happen in Madera or in Chowchilla. It does happen countywide. As you know, there's a number of unincorporated areas within Madera County that have some pretty substantial populations. So it's the sheriff's job to get out there and make sure that we're not turning a blind eye to a problem that's growing but just hasn't quite blossomed yet. The second problem that I would like to address would be marijuana grows. I believe that with the correct staffing, we can actually address those more from a patrol level than from the narcotics task force level. Unfortunately, as you mentioned earlier, narcotics production is a big issue throughout the Central Valley. And, of course, your task force is going to deal with the larger cases, and that means that you have to have a solution for the smaller cases. And my emphasis on that would be through the folks who work patrol, getting them the resources and the additional deputies that they need to go out and take care of those problems on a daily basis.
ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਜਵਾਬ ਹੈਗਾ ਅਸੀਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਪੁੱਛਿਆ ਵੀ ਕਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਖਾਸ 2-3 ਗੱਲਾਂ ਹੈਗੀਆਂ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਚੁਣੇ ਜਾਣ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਕੰਮ ਕਰੋਗੇ। ਇੱਕ ਤਾਂ ਗੈਂਗ ਐਕਟੀਵਿਟੀ ਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਗੈਂਗ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਜੁੜੇ ਹੋਏ ਮਸਲੇ ਨੇ, ਭੰਗ ਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਅਤੇ ਨਸ਼ਿਆਂ ਬਾਰੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਕਿ ਕਾਫੀ ਏਰੀਆ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਹੈਗਾ ਉਹ ਐਸਾ ਹੈਗਾ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਇਨਕਾਰਪੋਰੇਟ ਦਾ ਮਤਲਬ ਹੈ ਵੀ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਆਪਣਾ ਸ਼ਹਿਰ ਆਪਣੀ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਹੈਗੀ ਹੈ। ਅਨਇਨਕਾਰਪੋਰੇਟ ਦਾ ਮਤਲਬ ਹੈ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਉਹ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਮਹਿਕਮਾ ਸ਼ੈਰਿਫ ਦਾ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਆਉਂਦਾ। ਅਤੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਕਿ ਮੈਂ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਆਪਣੀ ਪੈਟਰੋਲ ਯੂਨਿਟ ਵਗੈਰਾ ਤਿਆਰ ਕਰਕੇ ਉੱਥੇ ਭੇਜਾਂਗਾ। Will you hire more officers with the sheriff's department to fulfill the requirements of their duties, or requirement that we need more deputies on the beats, more detectives in the department, and more officers in narcotics enforcement unit?
Well, Rama, my first priority would be to get more deputies back into patrol. Currently, I believe the office is anywhere from 8 to 12 deputies below what they're authorized. There's a number of different ways we could fund that. You could...
That was going to be my next question. That's fine.
Okay. You could fund that through rearranging what you do with your general fund money. You can apply for grants similar to the COPS Veterans Grant that we're currently using in Chowchilla to hire an officer. You can use the rural counties money that the Sheriff's Office receives. They receive about $500,000 a year that is specific to the Sheriff's Office. It's not money that comes under the purview of the Board of Supervisors to determine how it's spent. So you could use some of that money to return staffing levels on the full-time deputies to where it should be. I would also strongly emphasize hiring reserve deputies. Over the years, a good reserve program can have kind of two prongs to it. One is folks who have full-time jobs, who go out and they work their job during the week or on the weekend, and then they want to come in and work a shift or two or three or four a month, and that it significantly frees up the regular deputies to do follow-up, to do search warrants if they need to, or to just keep an eye on folks that they know have been committing crimes. They just haven't developed enough evidence yet to prove the crime. You also have another group of reserves who are usually younger folks in their 30s or younger, who are actually looking for a full-time law enforcement job someday. And the reason that works out well for any agency to do that is because it allows you to train them in how you do police work. It gives you a ready resource for a daily fill, and it also gives you a candidate pool for future hiring of folks that you already know and already work with you. So between adding deputies and adding reserves, I think from there we would look at what we're going to do in terms of detectives or task forces.
ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਜਿਸ ਟਾਈਮ ਮੈਂ ਪੁੱਛਿਆ ਵੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਹੋਰ ਅਧਿਕਾਰੀ ਹਾਇਰ ਕਰੋਗੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਸ਼ੈਰਿਫ ਡਿਪਾਰਟਮੈਂਟ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ, ਤੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਵੀ ਮੈਂ 8 ਤੋਂ 12 ਸ਼ੈਰਿਫ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਨੇ ਡਿਪਟੀ ਸ਼ੈਰਿਫ ਘੱਟ ਨੇ ਮਹਿਕਮੇ 'ਚ, ਤੇ ਮੈਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਹਾਇਰ ਕਰਾਂਗਾ, ਤੇ ਕੋਸ਼ਿਸ਼ ਇਹ ਹੋਏਗੀ ਕਿ ਰਿਜ਼ਰਵ ਆਫੀਸਰਸ ਹਾਇਰ ਕੀਤੇ ਜਾਣ ਤਾਂ ਕਿ ਮਹਿਕਮੇ 'ਤੇ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਸਿਰਦਰਦੀ ਤੇ ਖਰਚੇ ਨਾ ਪੈਣ। ਇੱਕ ਤਾਂ ਜਨਰਲ ਫੰਡ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਤੋਂ ਪੈਸੇ ਆਉਣਗੇ, ਇੱਕ ਗ੍ਰਾਂਟ ਹੈਗੀ ਹੈ $5 ਲੱਖ ਸਾਲ ਦਾ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਮਿਲਦਾ ਹੈਗਾ ਕਾਉਂਟੀ ਵੱਲੋਂ। ਉਹਨਾਂ ਸਾਰੇ ਪੈਸਿਆਂ ਦੀ ਵਰਤੋਂ ਕਰਦੇ ਹੋਏ ਅਗਰ ਰਿਜ਼ਰਵ ਆਫੀਸਰਸ ਹਾਇਰ ਕਰਦੇ ਨੇ, ਮਹਿਕਮੇ ਦਾ ਪੈਸਾ ਵੀ ਬਚਦਾ ਹੈ, ਅਤੇ ਉਹ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਅਫਸਰ ਨੇ, ਜਿਹੜੇ ਰੈਗੂਲਰ ਅਫਸਰ ਨੇ, ਉਹ ਆਪਣਾ ਸੁਰੱਖਿਆ ਪ੍ਰਦਾਨ ਕਰਨ ਦੇ ਕੰਮ ਵਿੱਚ ਮਸ਼ਰੂਫ ਰਹਿਣਗੇ, ਅਤੇ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਤਹਿਕੀਕਾਤਾਂ ਹੈਗੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਉਹ ਰਿਜ਼ਰਵ ਆਫੀਸਰਸ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਨੇ ਜਿਸ ਟਾਈਮ ਲੋੜ ਪਏ। Madera County Sheriff's Department writes its own grant or Board of Supervisors. They allocate the money to Sheriff's Department, while this is an independent office.
Well, actually, both of those happen. So if the Sheriff's Office wrote an application for the COPS grant and it was granted, the Board of Supervisors still has to be the one that officially accepts it on behalf of the county, and they also have to be the one that officially accepts it into the sheriff's budget.
Do they take a share out of that?
They do not.
Just
no. Well, we'll make sure they don't.
Because commission works.
That's right.
Don't tell them. Go ahead, sir. I'm sorry for interrupting.
That's okay.
We want to spice up our conversation.
Well, that's pretty much how it works. And the rural counties money, the reason I mention that in particular is because the sheriff does retain the control over that money. And just to give you an example of things that Sheriff Anderson used it for in the past, he did set aside a portion of that money each year until he had enough money to build the Oakhurst substation. That's how that got done. And sometimes you have to make sure that you keep control of what was forwarded to you with the intent of you to keep control of it. Otherwise, the money can be spent in other areas. Fortunately, the rural counties' money cannot be spent elsewhere.
ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਹੈਗਾ ਕਿ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਅਸੀਂ ਪੈਸਾ ਅਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੀ ਗ੍ਰਾਂਟ ਖੁਦ ਲਿਖ ਸਕਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਔਰ ਲਿਖਾਂਗੇ, ਪਰ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਗ੍ਰਾਂਟ ਆਉਂਦੀ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਮਡੇਰਾ ਕਾਉਂਟੀ ਬੋਰਡ ਆਫ ਸੁਪਰਵਾਈਜ਼ਰ ਨੂੰ ਹੀ ਪ੍ਰਾਪਤ ਕਰਨੀ ਪਏਗੀ ਅਤੇ ਫਿਰ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਦੇਣੀ ਪਏਗੀ। I have seen some big endorsements. Can you vouch about these endorsements?
Sure. As far as associations that have endorsed me, the California Peace Officers Association has endorsed me. I am on the board of that organization, but it is very unique in California law enforcement because it's really the only one that has folks from the line level, from the officer or deputy level, all the way up through chiefs and sheriffs. So I'm particularly proud of getting their endorsement. I also received the endorsement of the California Police Chiefs Association. That one is based on recommendation from the chiefs in the county. So Chief Frazier recommended me for that to the CPCA, and I was definitely excited to get that endorsement too. That's statewide, and there's about 360 chiefs represented within that organization.
ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਜਿਸ ਟਾਈਮ ਪੁੱਛਿਆ ਸੀ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਬਈ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਐਂਡੋਰਸਮੈਂਟਸ ਬਾਰੇ ਦੱਸੋ, ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਕਿ ਕੈਲੀਫੋਰਨੀਆ ਪੀਸ ਆਫੀਸਰਸ ਐਸੋਸੀਏਸ਼ਨ, ਕੈਲੀਫੋਰਨੀਆ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਚੀਫਸ ਐਸੋਸੀਏਸ਼ਨ, ਚੀਫ ਫਰੇਜ਼ਰ ਤੇ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਕੈਲੀਫੋਰਨੀਆ ਪੀਸ ਆਫੀਸਰਸ ਐਸੋਸੀਏਸ਼ਨ ਹੈ 360 ਆਫੀਸਰਸ ਐਸੋਸੀਏਸ਼ਨ ਦੀ ਪੈਰਵਾਈ ਕਰਦੇ ਨੇ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਰਿਪਰੈਜ਼ੈਂਟ ਕਰਦੇ ਨੇ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਐਂਡੋਰਸਮੈਂਟਸ ਹੈਗੀਆਂ ਨੇ। Does Madera County Sheriff's Department has a boat unit or water mount unit to protect the citizens and to stop the criminal activities on water?
The main unit that deals with that is a seasonal unit. It's stationed up at Bass Lake. You do have at least one full-time person that coordinates that and makes sure all the equipment is good to go in the off-season. But they actually hire reserve or part-time deputies for the Bass Lake season. As far as your rivers and things of that nature, normally when we're not in a drought, the water is such that you couldn't navigate those due to the speed of the water and the obstacles underneath the water. But the Madera County does have a very good search and rescue unit, and generally they engage in that, looking for lost folks. But they are used occasionally to go out and just go in some of those areas that you mentioned earlier that connect with the National Forest, just to provide a presence there.
Thank you, Chief. ਸਵਾਲ ਇਹ ਸੀਗਾ ਵੀ ਕਿਆ ਸਾਡੇ ਕੋਲ ਮਡੇਰਾ ਕਾਊਂਟੀ ਸ਼ੈਰਿਫ ਡਿਪਾਰਟਮੈਂਟ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਬੋਟ ਯੂਨਿਟ ਤੇ ਵਾਟਰ ਮਾਊਂਟ ਯੂਨਿਟ ਹੈਗੀ। ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਕਿ ਸਾਡੇ ਕੋਲ ਇੱਕ ਫੁੱਲ ਟਾਈਮ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਸੀਜ਼ਨਲ ਆਫੀਸਰ ਹੈਗਾ, ਜਿਹੜਾ ਰੈਸਕਿਊ ਯੂਨਿਟ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ ਹੈ, ਸਰਚ ਐਂਡ ਰੈਸਕਿਊ ਯੂਨਿਟ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ ਹੈ। ਬਟ ਦ ਕੁਐਸਚਨ ਆਈ ਵਾਜ਼ ਆਸਕਿੰਗ ਬਿਕੋਜ਼ during the summers people they go to enjoy their life, they go for boating. Some of the folks who are involved in criminal activities, they go there, sell controlled substances, utilize them while they are in the water, and one officer is not sufficient. What is your, because I have seen these things personally, and people that drink while they are boating, and according to the law it is not allowed.
Correct.
And when they are drinking, and you and I, we both are having family and we are in separate boats, even if we look at them, sometimes they start yelling, cussing, and one officer in that area is not sufficient, is not enough. What are your plans for that type of situation? And when someone makes a phone call during that time, in the meanwhile officer arrives there, that person is gone.
Well, that's true. That's similar to other crimes where sometimes you call and the law enforcement isn't able to get there in time to deal with the problem because they've either driven down the road or, in your case, they've taken their boat up on the ramp and left. I will be reviewing the staffing at Bass Lake. The other two main recreational lakes in Madera County are Eastman and Hensley Lake. And the deputies that work there part-time are paid through a contract with the Corps of Engineers because those are Corps of Engineer facilities. I don't believe that we would be expanding at those two particular lakes beyond the one deputy. However, I would look at Bass Lake, and especially when we get into a season when the water is higher than it is now, we want to have adequate folks out there to enforce the law, yet allow people to use it in a recreational manner. But you're right, in a lake like we have, actually all three of those lakes are fairly long and narrow. There's absolutely no tolerance for somebody who is intoxicated and operating any kind of watercraft, whether it's a jet ski, boat, pontoon boat, sailboat, anything. If you've ever witnessed or been involved in any kind of on-the-water incident like that, once boats start hitting each other, it really doesn't matter what you were on when you're the one that's getting tossed in the water.
And it is very dangerous.
Yes, sir, it is.
And people, they need to be careful using any kind of intoxication when they are...
Yeah, my suggestion, frankly, would be just like you would with your vehicle, you should have a designated boat operator I'm not particularly fond of consuming alcohol myself. I don't have anything against what other folks do in that regard, but common sense goes a long way.
Absolutely.
And if you have someone, just take turns. Who's not going to drink today? Especially if you're involved in any type of towing skiers or towing anybody on any type of water device behind a boat. You don't want someone operating the boat who's been drinking.
ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਹੈਗਾ ਕਿ ਕੋਈ ਬੰਦਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਵੀ ਨਾਵ ਚਲਾਉਂਦਾ ਜਾਂ ਕਿਸ਼ਤੀ ਚਲਾਉਂਦਾ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਨਸ਼ੇ ਪੱਤਿਆਂ ਤੋਂ ਬਚਣਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ। ਅਗਰ ਉਹਨੇ ਕੁਛ ਖਾਧਾ ਪੀਤਾ ਹੋਇਆ, ਕੋਈ ਸ਼ਰਾਬ ਸ਼ਰੂਬ ਪੀਤੀ ਹੈ, ਅਤੇ ਕੋਈ ਹੋਰ ਬੋਟ ਚਲਾਉਣ ਵਾਲਾ ਡਰਾਈਵਰ ਨਾਲ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਜਾਏ। ਅਤੇ ਮਾੜੀ ਗੱਲ ਹੈ ਇੱਦਾਂ ਦੇ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਨਾ। once a while I go to these lakes, take off time from my busy schedules, sit there, watch, take notes what is happening around, and bring that experience in my talk shows or in my conversations with law enforcement officials like you. I was with a group of some scholars. People sometimes they go to these recreational areas after cooking, dining, drinking. They leave all kinds of debris there, which is an environmental issue as well. They are damaging our environment. They are damaging our water system. Does Sheriff's Department has any control on that type of issues?
Well, certainly littering and things of that nature, at least at the level that you're discussing it, could be a misdemeanor depending on where they're doing it. One of the biggest issues that the Sheriff's Department faces right now in terms of environmental issues is the grows, either on private property or in the national forests. And these folks that come out and grow the marijuana, number one, the folks that are there, they're probably there under duress. Someone has said, hey, either go out there and grow the marijuana or your folks, your family are not coming home from wherever they're at. So you have people out in the forest growing things using chemicals, fertilizers, diverting water courses of streams and rivers that just wreck the watershed, number one, and introduce pesticides and poisons into the water that aren't even legal in the United States. So that's probably our number one threat in terms of debris and things that are left behind anywhere near our water in Madera County.
ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਹੈਗਾ ਕਿ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਇਲਾਵਾ ਵੀ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਮਸਲੇ ਹੈਗੇ ਨੇ, ਲੋਕੀ ਜੰਗਲ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਚਲੇ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਨੇ ਅਤੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਪਰਿਵਾਰਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਧਮਕੀ ਦਿੱਤੀ ਜਾਂਦੀ ਕਿ ਅਗਰ ਤੂੰ ਸਾਡੇ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਕੰਮ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰੇਂਗਾ ਤਾਂ ਤੇਰਾ ਪਰਿਵਾਰ ਸਹੀ ਸਲਾਮਤ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੋਏਗਾ ਪਿੱਛੇ। ਅਤੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਧਮਕੀ ਦਿੱਤੀ ਜਾਂਦੀ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਜੰਗਲ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਭੰਗ ਵਗੈਰਾ ਉਗਾਉਂਦੇ ਨੇ, ਅਤੇ ਨਾ ਸਿਰਫ ਉਹ ਭੰਗ ਵਗੈਰਾ ਉਗਾਉਂਦੇ ਨੇ, ਹੋਰ ਵੀ ਗਲਤ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਦੇ ਨੇ। ਗਲਤ ਤਰੀਕੇ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਪਾਣੀ ਨੂੰ ਚਲਾਉਣਾ, ਗਲਤ ਫਰਟੀਲਾਈਜ਼ਰਸ ਇਸਤੇਮਾਲ ਕਰਨੇ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੀ ਅਮਰੀਕਾ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇਜਾਜ਼ਤ ਨਹੀਂ ਗੀ ਹੈਗੀ, ਅਤੇ ਹੋਰ ਵੀ ਕਈ ਕੈਮੀਕਲਸ ਅਤੇ ਪੈਸਟੀਸਾਈਡਸ ਉਸ ਏਰੀਏ 'ਚ ਉਸ ਖੇਤਰ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵਰਤੋਂ ਕਰਦੇ ਨੇ। ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਵੀ ਸਾਡੀ ਇਹ ਪ੍ਰੀਓਰਿਟੀ ਵੀ ਹੈ। ਚੀਫ, the way I asked question, maybe I needed to rephrase it. My question was, how can we stop that type of activity? I didn't mean that each time we see something we need to cite a person. We need to take some other alternative ways. We can educate people, we can post signs. Right. That was my question, and I'm sorry if I asked in different way. That was my question. How you will educate people to protect our resources?
Well, I think especially in terms of some place like Bass Lake, the deputies need to be in an area, whether it's the areas where people picnic or the boat launch areas, so that they can remind people while they're still paying attention. A lot of times when you go to enforce things, people are already defensive. But if you tell, say, 10 people on a pontoon boat and they're all family as they're launching out to have a picnic, to make sure that they don't let any of their trash blow into the lake, other family members who agree with what you're saying are going to make sure that that garbage doesn't end up in the lake.
Thank you. ਜਿਹੜਾ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਹੈਗਾ ਕਿ ਪਰਿਵਾਰਾਂ ਦੀ ਵੀ ਜ਼ਿੰਮੇਵਾਰੀ ਹੈਗੀ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਕਬਾੜ ਹੈਗਾ ਉਹ ਲੇਕ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਾਂ ਪਾਣੀ 'ਚ ਨਾ ਜਾਏ। ਜੇ ਵਾਰਨੇ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਚੀਫ ਚਾਉਚਿਲਾ ਸਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਜੁੜ ਬੈਠੇ ਨੇ, ਜਿਹੜਾ ਕਿ ਮਡੇਰਾ ਕਾਊਂਟੀ ਸ਼ੈਰਿਫਸ ਆਫਿਸ ਦੇ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਚੁਣਾਵ ਲੜ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ। ਇਸ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਹੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਪਤਨੀ ਐਮੀ ਵਾਰਨੇ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਐਡਮਿਨਿਸਟ੍ਰੇਟਿਵ ਅਸਿਸਟੈਂਟ ਹੈਗੇ ਨੇ ਇਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ, ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕਿ ਐਡਵਰਸ ਚਾਈਲਡ ਐਕਸਪੀਰੀਅੰਸ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਜੁੜੇ ਹੋਏ ਨੇ। ਦੋਨੋਂ ਸਾਡੇ ਕੋਲ ਮੌਜੂਦ ਨੇ ਸਟੂਡੀਓ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ। ਅਸੀਂ ਦੋਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਜੀ ਆਇਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਦੋਨੋਂ ਦਾ ਅਸੀਂ ਵੈਲਕਮ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਇਤਰਾਮ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਕਿ ਉਹ ਸਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਜੁੜ ਬੈਠੇ ਨੇ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਸੇਵਾ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ। What do you want to tell to the voters, constituents of Madera County that you will represent? Now it is your time, whatever you want to talk to them.
Well, I think the voters face a very important election. You have a long-standing sheriff who's moving on, and he's retiring after almost 50 years in law enforcement. So you have 6 folks who are running for this office. So what you have to decide is which person has the best combination of experience, training, education, and experience within Madera County law enforcement. I think that if you look at my qualifications, that I am the top person in all of those areas. I am currently working as a police chief for the city of Chowchilla. I have worked for 2 years as the acting city administrator of the city of Chowchilla. I have a master's degree from Fresno State in criminology, and I earned that last December. It's not something that I did 20 or 30 years ago. It's something that I believe ongoing education is important, whether you're an officer or whether you're a chief. You can always learn something, and applying yourself to education is important. I'm a recent graduate of the FBI National Academy. I am endorsed by over 10 former council members, current mayors, and former mayors of Madera or Chowchilla. I've been endorsed by a number of folks within the law enforcement community. I've lived in Madera County now for over 10 years. I understand what it's like to have the sheriff's office be your service provider. I understand those things that are working well within the county and those things that aren't working so well. My goal is to improve the number of deputies that we have, improve the response time for 911 calls, to do a better job of doing a crime analysis and criminal intelligence gathering so that we can deploy our deputies in a manner that addresses the problem and not just something that covers an area. I intend to pass on more responsibility down to the lieutenants at the sheriff's office because that's who's over the 2 patrol divisions. But I also intend to make sure that they're equipped to do the job. You know, if you're going to delegate the responsibility, you need to delegate the resources also. I think that overall, law enforcement comes down to basically about 5 different areas. The first one is crime, of course. I think that's a given, and we understand that. The next is conduct. That's the conduct of the officers that represent you out in the community, and the conduct that you show to those officers in terms of how you lead and how you model. I think I've always shown that I lead from the front. Made a number of arrests in Chowchilla over the years, some that were somewhat not notorious in a bad way, but I guess notorious in a good way. Arrested a gentleman one day in a stolen airplane that landed in Chowchilla. He told us he came there because Chowchilla was podunk and he wouldn't get caught, and we were very happy to prove him wrong. But I also know that administering the department is my main job. However, that doesn't prevent me from getting out and modeling what I want from my folks when they're in the field.
Thank you, Chief. ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਹੈਗਾ ਕਿ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਕਰੰਟ ਸ਼ੈਰਿਫ ਹੈ ਮਿਸਟਰ ਐਂਡਰਸਨ, ਜੌਨ ਐਂਡਰਸਨ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ 50 ਸਾਲ ਦਾ ਤਜਰਬਾ ਹੈਗਾ ਲਾ ਐਨਫੋਰਸਮੈਂਟ ਦਾ। ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਆਰ ਯੂ ਟੋਟਲ 6 people or 6 people against you?
There's a total of 6 people in the race.
6 ਬੰਦੇ ਇਸ ਰੇਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੈਗੇ ਨੇ। ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਕਿ ਮੈਂ ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਟ੍ਰੇਨਡ ਹਾਂ, ਐਜੂਕੇਟਿਡ ਹਾਂ, ਅਤੇ ਮਡੇਰਾ ਕਾਊਂਟੀ ਲਾ ਐਨਫੋਰਸਮੈਂਟ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਚਾਉਚਿੱਲਾ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਚੀਫ ਹਾਂ। ਐਡਮਿਨਿਸਟ੍ਰੇਸ਼ਨ ਦਾ ਤਜਰਬਾ ਹੈਗਾ। ਰੀਸੈਂਟਲੀ ਹੁਣੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਮਾਸਟਰਸ ਕੀਤੀ ਹੈ ਫਰੈਜ਼ਨੋ ਸਟੇਟ ਤੋਂ, ਅਤੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਹੁਣੇ ਹੀ FBI ਤੋਂ ਗ੍ਰੈਜੂਏਸ਼ਨ ਲਿੱਤੀ ਹੈ, ਨੈਸ਼ਨਲ FBI ਨੈਸ਼ਨਲ ਅਕੈਡਮੀ ਸਕੂਲ ਤੋਂ, ਔਰ 10 ਸਾਲ ਤੋਂ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਮਡੇਰਾ ਕਾਊਂਟੀ ਦੇ ਖੇਤਰ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇੱਕ ਲਾ ਐਨਫੋਰਸਮੈਂਟ ਏਜੰਸੀ ਦੇ ਚੀਫ ਨੇ। ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਗੋਲ ਹੈਗਾ ਹੋਰ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਡਿਪਟੀ ਆਫੀਸਰਸ ਸਟਰੀਟਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਆਉਣਾ ਸੁਰੱਖਿਆ ਦੇ ਵਾਸਤੇ। ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਕੰਮ ਹੈਗਾ ਕਿ ਇਹ ਜ਼ਿੰਮੇਦਾਰੀ ਲੈਣਗੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਸਮਾਜ ਦੀ, ਆਪਣੇ ਖੇਤਰ ਦੀ ਸੁਰੱਖਿਆ ਦੇ ਵਾਸਤੇ, ਕਾਨੂੰਨ ਦੀ ਪਾਲਣਾ ਕਰਨ ਦੇ ਵਾਸਤੇ, ਤੇ ਅਪਰਾਧਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਐਨਾਲਾਈਜ਼ ਕਰਨਗੇ। ਜੇ ਹੋਰ ਡਿਪਟੀਜ਼ ਦੀ ਲੋੜ ਪਈ ਉਹ ਵੀ ਇਹ ਉੱਥੇ ਭੇਜਣਗੇ। ਮੁੱਖ ਕੰਮ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਹੋਣਗੇ ਅਪਰਾਧ ਨਾਲ ਲੜਨਾ, ਸਮਾਜ ਸੁਧਾਰਕ ਦੇ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਨਾ। ਤੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਕਿ ਇੱਕ ਐਰੋਪਲੇਨ ਚੋਰੀ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ ਸੀ ਜਿਸ ਟਾਈਮ ਉਹ ਮਡੇਰਾ ਕਾਉਂਟੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਲੈਂਡ ਕੀਤਾ, ਚਾਉਚਿੱਲਾ ਦੇ ਖੇਤਰ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ। ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਉਸ ਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਗ੍ਰਿਫਤਾਰ ਕੀਤਾ ਤੇ ਉਸ ਬੰਦੇ ਨੇ ਇਹ ਕਿਹਾ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਕਿ ਮੈਂ ਇਸ ਕਰਕੇ ਇਸ ਖੇਤਰ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਆਇਆ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਇੱਥੇ ਪਤਾ ਲੱਗਿਆ ਕਿ ਲਾ ਐਨਫੋਰਸਮੈਂਟ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਇੰਨੀ ਛੇਤੀ ਗ੍ਰਿਫਤਾਰ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰਦੀ, ਤੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਉਸ ਨੂੰ ਗਲਤ ਸਾਬਤ ਕੀਤਾ। Who is your top competitor in this race?
Well, I would assume that based on name recognition and position that they hold, that the top competitor would be the undersheriff, and that's Michael Salvador.
ਤੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਕਿ ਮੇਰਾ ਮੁੱਖ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਬੰਦਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਮੇਰੇ ਵਿਰੁੱਧ ਚੁਣਾਵ ਲੜ ਰਿਹਾ ਮਾਈਕਲ ਸੈਲਵਾਡੋਰ, ਜਿਹੜਾ ਅੰਡਰ ਸ਼ੈਰਿਫ ਹੈ ਮਡੇਰਾ ਕਾਉਂਟੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ। Anything else you wanna tell the voters of Madera County through our talk show?
Well, I certainly appreciate Rama having you invite me down this morning, and I appreciate their attention, and I would certainly value the vote from your Madera County listeners on June 3rd in our primary election.
You are very welcome, Chief. And this program will be converted into a video format, and it will be posted on YouTube and as well as on my Facebook page. If you want to copy it, you are more than welcome to do that.
That's great. We'll do that.
Thank you, Chief. We have Amy Varney, wife of Mr. J. Varney, Chief, Chowchilla Police Department. Ma'am, do you want to say something for your husband to our listeners, or you want to just pass it to Chief?
Thanks, Rama. Thanks again for having us. I just really want to encourage everyone to vote. Your voice matters, and it's a real privilege for us to have elections. And so just thank you for listening. Thank you for asking questions. And you can visit our website, Varney for Sheriff, and give Jay an email if you have any questions in particular. And again, just thanks for having us here this morning.
It's our pleasure, ma'am. Thank you so much for joining me. I look forward working with you guys in the future.